Look, I get it. It's really hard to get excited over a gimbal, let alone one designed for a smartphone. Now, for full transparency, Hohem did reach out and ask me if I was interested in taking a look at their smartphone gimbal. Now, my first thoughts was, oh great, not another gimbal. What are you gonna tell me, that it can hold 20% more payload capacity, that it can shoot in vertical mode? Like, we've all seen it. But boy, was I wrong. This gimbal actually really impressed me. Let me explain why. Now, one thing I don't want to do is bore you with the obvious gimbal details. This does everything that you would imagine a gimbal can do. But I do want to touch on some of its physical characteristics because it does have some things that are pretty unique. For example, for a smartphone gimbal, the build quality is very solid. I do like that it's like not very heavy, which I like because obviously you're going to be using a smartphone. You don't want to carry something cumbersome, but I do like how it feels very solid. The other thing I like is it's more like, I would say, filmmaker friendly. You've got like a 1/4-20 mount here, where you're able to mount, I mean, pretty much anything you want, maybe a side handle. There's also another 1/4-20 mount up above by this arm, where I would probably, and I was thinking about this, maybe mounting like an SSD, because if I'm gonna be using my iPhone, I definitely wanna record externally using Apple Log. Now on this side, you have a dial that allows you to adjust different things like your focus, the light brightness, which we'll talk about that in a second, and other various things. All right, so let's talk about what makes this gimbal special. And it's this little AI tracking device that's located towards the top. It's got a little camera and you can see the feed over here, but that's not it. It's the fact that you don't need to download any apps in order to make this work. Now, you technically can download the Hohem app and extend the functionality, but let me demonstrate without downloading anything. I'm using the default camera app from Apple. I wanna shoot in log. And again, we can see Evan here. Now, if I double tap on Evan, it's going to turn green. Let me actually record on my phone so you guys can see that. Now it's going to track him. Go ahead, Evan, move. It's using the tracker up here and the camera, and as you can see, we've got a little green box here, and it's tracking Evan. Now, here's the thing. I can also take this little piece here, remove it from the gimbal, and I've got like a little wireless transmission system. Now, if I wanted to go with Evan, actually, I'm gonna stop right here. Watch, I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop. Now it's not gonna track him anymore. Now I'm gonna go with Evan. So I'm here next to Evan, so you guys could see that. Now let's focus on this here. So check this out. It's still focused on Evan, but now I'm gonna have it track me. So now I'm gonna go here. So Evan, maybe get out of the way here. And now I can see myself. I'm gonna double tap on myself. Then it's going to track me now. So now, look at this. Now it's tracking me. I'm able to see what's going on. Actually, Evan, check this out. Look at this. All wirelessly. So now, a lot of people want to shoot videos using their smartphone, and they're able to do this because now I have like a little wireless transmission system, and no matter if I like walk away or something, I'm able to like control that. So again, if I hit this button here, it's going to stop tracking me. So now it's done. Now if I come back into frame, once again, I double tap, it's going to track me. And now if I'm doing a talking head, if I'm doing this, let's talk about this new device or this new thing, I'm able to do that, which is pretty neat. Now this AI unit isn't only to track people, you can also use it to track objects or even a vehicle. And this is where I'm actually pumped to use it because oftentimes I'm using an Osmo Pocket 3 because I'm not gonna go do a whole car setup if I want something really quick. So being able to use my iPhone and get a higher quality, this is where I probably use this gimbal the most. Now, as you can see here, I've got my little screen here. I'm gonna draw a little box around it, push on this button, and now it turns green. So we've got a lock on the Cybertruck. I'm gonna go ahead and hit record, and I don't really have to see anything. In fact, I'm just gonna do this, and I know it's gonna get a really cool shot because AI is doing all the work. Getting a nice little parallax, I'm not even bothering looking. Oh, dude, that looks butter. Look at that. I'm gonna go ahead and hit stop, and now I've got my shot. And again, it's tracking. Look, I'm doing this, and the gimbal, actually, I'm gonna record this. Look at this. The gimbal is doing all the work. I'm not doing anything. And again, I am not using their software. It's all stock default camera app. Now, this isn't just an AI tracker, there's also a built-in light. And in order to activate that, there's a button here. We just hold that down, and you'll notice we've got a light. And it's not bad, it's pretty decent. Obviously, we're in daytime, you're not gonna be able to really tell, but what's cool about this is you can also change the Kelvin value using the dial. So I'll go here, if I change this, you can see it's turning warm, and then Cool. Now let's say I want it to be warm, but I wanted to control, let's say, the brightness. So now the dial can control the brightness, and I can dim it down to like 1%, that's 1%, or maybe like 20%, 25%, or 100%. So again, the dial, you're able to have multiple functions, not just pull focus. Now, one thing I forgot to mention is not only can you adjust the Kelvin temperature of the light, there's also an RGB value. Let me show you. So again, using that dial, I can adjust the color temperature. So let's say I want something like a blue tone. I can go to 180, which is typically like a blue color. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Let's say I want something more like yellow. I'll go to like 45. And what's neat is, like, let's say your scene has like more like yellowish tones. You can match it using this little light, which again, I think is pretty neat. Now, as I mentioned, you can extend the functionality of the gimbal if you download and use the Hohem app. Now, I'm not gonna go through every single one of them, but I am gonna go through the ones that I like, starting off with some of the gesture controls, which I think are pretty neat. Now, normally I would have the camera front facing so I can see what I'm doing, but because we're trying to record this, I want you guys to see the actual phone display. So the first thing, if I want to actually have the phone start recording, I can just give it a little peace sign, and there should be a little countdown, and it's probably recording right about now. So now that it's recording, let's say I want it to track me. What I can do is I just give it the little OK symbol, and then now it's going to track me. So if I move, or if I just like go this way, it's going to continue to track me. Now, if I want it to stop tracking me, I just tell it to stop, and now it stops tracking me. So those kind of gestures controls, again, if I'm a solo operator per se, and I'm using my smartphone to film myself, are actually pretty neat. Now, going back to the Hohem app, if I wanted to pull focus, remember I have the wheel here, I can go here and I'll show you guys getting a little macro shot. So I'm able to pull focus. It's pretty neat, but again, you have to use the Hohem app in order to do that. Now, here's a few other things that I can appreciate that Hohem has done. Like, for example, most traditional gimbals, you have the motor located towards the back. The problem with that is, if the motor was located here, do you see what's happening? You're not able to see what's on the display. Now, they purposely put the motor on the front side. Now, the problem is, if you're gonna go ultra wide on certain phones, you will see this. Now, here's how they circumvent that. If you quadruple tap this, look what happens. It readjusts itself so you can shoot ultra wide. That's pretty cool. So another little neat feature of this gimbal is they have this extend mode. So let's say, for example, I want to get a high angle shot, or maybe even a low angle shot. What you can do is you can extend the gimbal, and now I can go low. And look at this, I don't even have to bend down. I can just hold the gimbal here. Or if I want to get almost like a little drone style shot, I can go really high. That's pretty cool. So after using this gimbal now for several weeks, I really like it. In fact, I use the iPhone quite a bit for pickup shots, and a lot of my videos have iPhone shots that I've just kind of thrown in there because the quality of the iPhone is just really good. And this just kind of extends that quality to be able to get more dynamic movement, or just use it in situations where I normally couldn't use a phone. So if you're somebody who uses a smartphone quite a bit, I would say this is definitely a go. And again, I'm not really a fan of gimbals, but I really like this one because of all of its features, and I do plan to use it in the future, especially for car shots. So that's kind of my take on the Hohem iSteady M7. If you guys are interested in picking one up, there will be a link down below in the description. My name is Armando. Thanks again for watching, and you will catch me in the next one. Adios.